Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today we continue the FL Studio series right here at BusyWorksBeats.com/FL Studio. Today we're going to focus on how to make hard beats on FL Studio. So this is going to be in FL Studio 21, but 20 and 21 are this close. Like there's not that much difference. Okay, so I will give you the project files for free. Just go to BusyWorksBeats.com/FL Studio. Firstly, we need to pick up the plugin. We're just going to make a melody in GMS. The sound doesn't matter more so than the process, but click here. We're going to go to GMS, and you could go through the different presets. We're in the banks called Leads and Synths, okay? And the preset is called BP Chords TE. Now let's go to the pattern mode. We're going to turn the metronome on and right-click, go to the piano roll. So from here, what we're going to do is map out chords that are hard, so to speak, in its musical nature. So these are called suspended chords. And we're going to use half steps too. So let's start at C just to make it simple. Let's start at C. And let's write out C minor. So it's C, E flat, and then G. If you struggle with the keys and everything, you could use the snap to scale function. Right click, go to snap to scale, and then change your scale to, where is it at? Minor natural, and then select C, or whatever key you want to be in this case, C. That will lock your notes to the scale so you don't get confused. Okay, so all we're gonna do is add these notes in, C, E flat, and then G. We're gonna copy these notes over, hit Control to highlight, hit Shift, drag this over. We're gonna take this middle note and just drag it down to the next lower scale degree, it's called. Very simple. We're gonna hit Control, highlight that, and repeat, hit Shift, pull it over. We're gonna repeat this one more time, hit Control, left click, drag it over. The thing about suspense is that it wants to keep moving back and forth, and it's because of this half step. So at the end here, we're gonna change this eighth bar to where this note is F. This is a suspended fourth, it's called. So now we have that kind of locked in. Let's go to our channel rack, and let's hit Control L to send this to the mixer. Now we can start adding in effects. Here's where we can create the illusion of hardness. So I'm going to go to mixer channel 4. This new technique, let's call this reverb. You can copy this technique. Again, you will get the project files, so you don't have to do all this from scratch. We're going to load up Fruity Reverb 2. We are going to right click the wet level and reset. Turn the dry level down. You can mess with the early reflections if you want. Doesn't matter. Just pull up the decay time a little bit and cut out some of the lows. Okay. Next, we're going to add the plugin called Gross Beat. In Gross Beat, what we can do is actually add halftime. So we're essentially reverbing a sound, but then slowing it down through halftime. Let's go to presets. We're going to go to momentary and go to half speed here. For further things, go to trig sync, go to 4 beats, post sync, go to 4 beats, so that when you hit play and stop, it won't go out of sync. So now let's click in the mixer here, this icon. Click on GMS and then left click to send it to the reverb. This will create this dark sound. Okay, so you can mess with the decay time. Now we have this eerie sound in the background. Okay, next let's add some more sounds here. Let's go to our channel rack. You can mess with flex if you want. Flex, you don't need to overkill like real sounds versus I don't really put too much faith in the stock sounds of FL. I'm just letting y'all know. Go to the free tab, download some of the essential packs here. We're going to go to Essential Guitar. I think they have a nylon in here, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken. They have a nylon shimmer guitar. Okay, so let's see what this sounds like. It's a little heavy, so let's pull this down in volume with the channel volume. And let's go to the sustain knob. And when you pull this up, it has like an airy sound to it. Let's turn off the reverb and end the delay in the limiter. So it's a little bland. So let's take off some of the shimmer. I don't know what that sound is coming from. I think it's just part of the sound. Let's hit Control L. Okay. So now we're still in pattern 1. Let's right click, go to piano roll. And because we have snap to scale on, we can't go out of key. So all you have to do, there's no rules for melody. I'm just giving you like how to do stuff. Hit grab the top note of your chord. In this case, what we already laid out, hit Control up. Let's start up an octave. And we're just going to do half steps. And then here we're adding D, which is the note that we have here. So we're using the same notes that we're using in our actual chord. And so we're going to repeat that. Hit Control, hit Shift, left click. Now let's go to our mixer here. We're going to send this nylon guitar to this reverb. Now what we can do is go a little bit deeper and group our melody into one track, one channel. Now this gets a little tedious, so I'm just going to do it for you. I'm just going to create a melody group, and we're going to hit Control. Actually, I think it's, what's the shortcut here? Control, okay, and Shift to highlight multiple sounds, and we're going to right click and route them directly to this track. Now the reverb needs to be routed out, but let me see something. We're going to route the sounds to the reverb. Turn off the original sounds here. We should only hear the reverb now. Okay, so it's the reverb is routing to the melody track, which is what I wanted here. So this is a cool vibe. If you just wanted the reverb tone, it sounds pretty dope actually. Okay, now let's open up the sounds back. Okay, so now we can process all these sounds together. Now the reason I'm doing so much work is because this is the texture of your beat. We're gonna get into the drums and all that. Let's turn down the dry level and turn down the feedback level of Fruity Delay 3, turn down delay time, and mess with the time modulation. This creates a pitch wobble effect, and you could add saturation here. You can do a lot of things like lower the sample rate. You could add some weird phasing with the feedback. Also, I like this new plugin called Hyper Chorus. It's really good. I'm gonna add some reverb directly to the nylon, only to space it out a little bit. Let's add Fruity Reverb too. And we're gonna turn down the dry level. So just trying to blend it in, make it more creepy sounding. Let's add a Fruity compressor. Actually, let's add a Fruity limiter to this melody group just to keep the melody tamed and not jumping around so much. Let's go to compressor mode. Let's add some attack time to it. That's just going to keep the melody tamed a little bit more. You don't need to actually do this. It's just for me to not get distracted. Okay, so now we have the melody tamed. We can now drag this pattern into the playlist. Okay, so again, it's just a vibe right now. Let's right click and consolidate this from track start. We're going to enable the insert effects and turn off the master effects. Hit OK. Now we can take this melody loop and take it even further. Let's double click, go to mode, stretch mode, and now we can mess with the pitch. We can do a lot of things, but what I want to do here is right click and open in the Fruity Slicer. It's a technique from Wonder Girl. Let's click the slice. Let's go to either half beat or beat slice. Pull up the attack time. Now go to your wrench tool and turn up the volume here. Also, we need to send this to the mixer. Hit Control L. Now you may be like wondering, where is the sound? Firstly, we need to mute the audio in the playlist. Clicking the mute tool, we need to mute that. We need to unmute pattern 1. And we need to go back to pattern 1, hit Control X to move the MIDI, and right click, find first empty, and Control V to paste into pattern 2. So now pattern 2 will have the chopped up audio. We can get rid of pattern 1. And now it's gonna have a stutter effect. Turn up your channel volume here. Now we can go to the plugin icon and we can do cool stuff like time stretch. We could pitch the sample up. Let's do that. Now let's also mess with the time stretch. And the cool part is we can reprocess the sound. I know we're getting deep, but this is how to like create stuff that isn't done yet. isn't already done, I mean to say. So let's go to our melody, and we're gonna left click the output to the reverb. And we could take off delay and we could take off chorus. I kind of like the sound of it. So now we have that creepy vibe. Now, remember where we started was just simply this sound here. Now let me turn off these effects. So here's where we started, just as a recap. Which this sounds cool, but it just sounds basic. So that's where we started. Now here's where we took the melody. Now let's find some 808s. You can join our Discord. Go to BusyWorks. Actually go to discord.gg/BusyWorksBeats. And you'll find our Discord. I have 120 something 808s called we gave out for 808 Day. And you can grab those for free. I also put them in the Beatmaker blueprint at busyworksbeats.com/beatmaker. Okay, so again, let's go to the trap folder. There's 100 something handpicked 808s. Let's right click, open this one up. To Control L, send that 808 to the mixer. We're gonna right click, go to Find First Empty here. And we're gonna turn the metronome on, and I'm gonna record notes and automation. Now, before I do this, turn your typing keyboard to piano icon on. Right click, make sure that root note C is selected and C4 is selected. And I want layout piano. And now what happens is my comma becomes middle C. And I'm gonna hit spacebar and record some patterns in here, just using my actual timing. Okay, so now we have that in. The double click, hit Control Q or Alt Q. That will quantize. So as we're doing this, I have everything routed to what's called a mix bus. You could just put your stuff on the master track, but on my mix bus, let's add the Fruity Soft Clipper. You've heard this a million times. Add the Fruity Soft Clipper. Most people tell you to turn the threshold to the right, and that's for harder clipping. Turn the threshold to the left for soft clipping. This will eat up more of the signal, and you can push it a little bit harder. Okay, so that's without even like having a bunch of sounds in here. Let's click here, go to Fruity Parametric EQ2. We're gonna boost up the key frequency here, which is 75. So we're gonna navigate to 75 Hertz and just boost this up. This is gonna vibrate the car. Okay, let's find some snare sounds here. So I'm gonna add some sounds by right clicking, open a new channel. We're not gonna sit here and make an entire beat. It would take too much time, but let's right click, open up some of these sounds. And we're gonna highlight these, hit Control L, send those to the mixer. We're gonna go to a new pattern under channel rack, right click, go to Find First Empty. To keep this beat simple, we're gonna right click the hi-hats, go to Fill Each 2 steps. And for the snare, we're gonna put the snare on the 3 and the 7. If you don't know how to count, go to pattern mode, turn your metronome on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So part of it is sound selection. You want sounds with more harmonics if you want to sound edgier. Let's go to song mode, hit play. Let's add some hi-hats in here. Hit Control B, latch paste. Now if you want your beat to sound hard, add little time differences. So right here, go to your wrench tool, turn up time shift on the hi-hats so it's not so on the grid. Not a hard rule. So some people, add different plugins to the 808. Really, 808 comes down to soft clipping more than anything. But let's add the Fruity Fast Distort plugin. Some people use this, some people don't. I'll show you a couple distortion plugins. They use Fruity Fast Distort. The other one is the Fruity Wave Shaper. Okay, so let's use one of these here. So this one adds more of a crunch, more like a TikTok 808. Also, let's go back to our 808, and I'm going to show you something that you probably haven't seen, which is we're going to add mute notes. Okay, so the 808 just rings out, but what if we stop the 808 from ringing out? Let's double click on it and just turn the velocity down. So it goes boom, stop. Okay, so let's add these mute notes in here so to tell the 808 to cut off. You could also do it at the very end of your 808s so that the 808 doesn't just ring out. Okay, so that's how you control your 808s a little bit more. Now let's get a little more. Again, we're not making an entire beat here, but that's Fruity Fast Distort. There's two modes, there's B mode and A mode. B is a little more bright, A is a little darker. So you can turn down the mix level. You could also crank the pre, lower the post, just to make it basically crunch more. Okay, so you would use that threshold to pull it back a little bit. Okay, now let's add a little more character to the 808. I'm not going to go through everything about everything right now. But you can, to make your beat a little bit harder, what we could do is take off the snap to scale mode. Okay, and then you could add a half step and just double click and add what's called a slide note icon. And it will slide the pitch of the 808 up a half step. And these little subconscious things that are happening to the 808 that people don't know, but it latches more to the bass. And we can go, let's hit Control up so you can hear this tone. Okay, then we can slide the pitch down. Now the 808 has the last, so let's pull it down an octave. So it goes bees like that. Keep doing that technique throughout. So all those little small pitch changes aren't detectable, but it grabs the ear of the listener because pitch is moving. Let's take off some of these plugins. I usually don't add Fruity Fast Distort to the 808. Also, there's Fruity Wave Shaper. You just basically curve this like this. So if you click this little cog icon, you can lower the output post. So the more you turn this up, the more crunch you get. Don't ask me how this works. I have no idea. But I just know that's how you get the crunch out of it. You can also create like a square shape. Okay, let's add an EQ to the 808, make it vibrate a little more at 75 hertz. From like 65 to 75 hertz. Looks like the 808 lives an octave lower than where I need it to hit. So it depends on the 808, but let's pull this one up. And now you'll see it lives closer to 60 to 75 hertz. Another technique is, now that 808 fades out pretty quickly, but another technique is go to your wrench tool, turn up time shift. So the 808 hits a little bit behind the downbeat. let's shape this 808 a little bit. You can go to the 808, click on it, turn up the fade parameter. Now again, the 808's already short, so we're kind of cutting it really short. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll swap that 808 for a different 808. We need the 808 to be long. Let's try out different 808s. Just left click, drag them over. Also, you can right click and send to selected channel or focus plugin. Just make sure you're highlighting the 808. Okay, so to get more loudness, we're gonna put this on hard clip mode. Now you don't, again, the Fruity Soft Clipper, you can use either softer or harder style. Let's turn the threshold to the right. Okay, so another way to make your beats hard, quote unquote hard, is to add hi-hat rolls. Basically, in short, what we can do is just go to the playlist, highlight all these, hit Control G, double click, go to the piano roll here, and wherever you want a hi-hat roll, like right here, I want a hi-hat roll. I'm gonna highlight these, hit Control L to drag the notes out, hit Control G, and then hit Alt U and mess with the time multiplier. So I'm gonna add little hi-hat rolls here and just show you how to use pitch to create a bounce. So now you can go back and start remixing your track. You could do the same exact thing with the slices, so you don't have to use. So let's add an Alt U slice. So that's how you can add glitches to your audio. So I'm just gonna mess with these slices. Okay, so you can do a lot with hi-hats. You know, we could sit here all day and do a hi-hat thing. But the main thing is to think about it like creating different instruments with the hi-hat. Okay, so let's go to the hi-hat, go to your wrench tool, mess with that time shift. So another thing that makes stuff sound hard is the timing differences. So as I'm delaying sounds, you start to feel that in-between groove. Okay, so now we have a whole creepy vibe going. Okay, so again, we can sit here and go really push this track further and further, but Now let's go to the Fruity Parametric EQ that we added. And let's go to the left side. We're going to push gain into the Fruity Soft Clipper. And then you just have to go to the Fruity Soft Clipper, turn down the post level to compensate for the gain you're pushing into it. So another part of this is arrangement. So let's click here, make this unique. We're gonna double click inside of pattern 3. We're gonna right click, clone this sound. And what I'm gonna do is just have a low octave one and then a high octave one, hit Control V. Basically going back to the Fruity Slicer and resetting the pitch. And then also you can mess with the time stretch to reset that. And so now we'll have two different styles of the melody. And let's bring in the hi-hats over time. So that's how you make hard beats in FL Studio. If you want these project files for free, just go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. And again, to get different tones and vibes, you just change out the 808. So that 808 was more tonal, more than it is punchy. So you might go through these 808s. Let's go get a punchy 808. There's a lot of them in there. So again, if you want these 808s, go to discord.gg/busyworksbeats and look in the free drum kits area. And again, for the project files, go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. Thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe for new. Peace.